Good day, grade 11 geography students. Today we wanna talk we wanna talk about international trade. International trade, still under trade and development. This is one of the key subject concepts that you need to understand, and you really need to be able to calculate as well as apply these concepts in real life situations and be able to assess and evaluate the context to which South Africa might fall in. So international trade, basically it is the purchase and sale of goods and services by companies in different countries. When we look at, or when talking about international trade, it involves purchase and sell. So it is buying and selling of goods and services by companies in different countries. So in other words, what happens is that there is buying and selling of goods that is taking place across the borders of the country. So buying and selling occurs, buying and selling, it occurs across the borders of a country, across the borders of a country. So if you talk about this form of selling, of this form of business transacting, the transacting that takes place across borders, we define that as international. As long as it involves two countries, it is, as long as it involves a movement of goods and services across the borders of a country. Therefore, we define that as international trade. And then, before we even go anywhere further, we want us to understand that the other form of trade is national or a local trade. I just want you to be aware of that, because we don't want just to learn to learn and pass. We want to learn and understand and be able to be relevant. So when buying and selling or transacting is taking place within the borders of a country, that is local or national trade. If it occurs within South Africa alone, we call that national trade. But the moment it occurs, e.g., South Africa and Lesotho, if ever that form of business transacting takes place, we call that international trade. So consumer goods, we have got consumer goods that are being involved in this form of trade. We have consumer goods, we have got raw materials, food and machinery, all are bought and sold in international marketplace. So what we are saying is that there is an international marketplace that is involved in form of this, in terms of this form of business. International market is involved. So I want us to understand that in today's business transaction, or in today's e-commerce or e-business, international market or an international marketplace has been made to be readily available because of what? Because of internet. So understand this within the context of current trends. What is the current trend saying with regard to international trade? It is a one-click stop. It is a form of business operation that can take place even faster than the one that we can do nationally or locally, if you can move from one marketplace to another. So in other words, what we are looking at is a business function that is happening across borders and has been made to be readily available as well through the availability of information technology. So international trade allows countries are allowed to expand their markets and access goods. So what we are looking at again is that maybe what are the reasons for international trade? For businesses or for countries to expand their market. Businesses or markets are expanding, they are expanding their markets. So, and access goods and services. They are able to enter into markets where goods and services that are otherwise are not available in their local market are which are otherwise not available within their local market. So international business, international trade, businesses, companies, individuals, or the corporate world, or the country as a whole, it is able to expand its market. It is able to access goods and services that is otherwise not readily available within their domestic, within their local market. That is the concept that we need to understand as an introduction to what to international trade. So when we talk about international trade, it involves imports and exports. So I want us to quickly look at what are imports. Imports and exports, there are two scenarios, or there are actually two performing functions which needs to be understood when we look at international trade. So imports are goods or services that entities purchase from other countries. They are purchased from other countries, often via shipment. We are saying they are moving. This is a mode of transport. Shipment, we are talking about the movement, the mode of delivery. To say they are taken from their markets into the local market through ships. It can be through mail, or it can be through freight, aircraft, as in terms of how they delivered. So in other words, imports are goods or services that entities, we are talking about businesses, which businesses purchase, they buy, which businesses buy from other countries in order for them to expand their businesses. So in imports often represents goods that countries do not produce. When we look at imports, these are goods that a country does not produce. The country does not have them, or cannot produce them affordably or efficiently. So when a country is not able to have the economies of scale in production of certain products or services, they rather depend on buying them from an international market. We are talking about the affordability and efficiency. Efficiency as in terms of the best cost effectiveness that can be involved in the production of those goods. So now, uh, there are goods that are entering within the borders of a country as being bought for various purposes or for various reasons. So an importer can actually be, we can look at importers as maybe possibly can be an individual, can be a company. Who are those people who is an importer, or who is doing that? It can be an individual, it can be a company, it can be also the government. These are basically the participants within the economy. We look at these as participants in an economy, in an open, this should be open economy, in other words, or open market, open economy, or open market. So therefore, it is open because it is accessing, or it is allowing for international trade. So when international trade is involved, that business or that market is defined as an open economy or an open market. So what we are saying is, who are those involved? We are talking about companies. This is the corporate world. We are looking at companies as the corporate world. Our businesses, they are involved in buying and selling across the countries, across the borders, in order for them to have the much needed foreign currency. So the corporate world is what we call the companies, or the final participants, or the various business participants in the economy. We talk about individuals. We have got individuals like sole traders, uh, private companies that are running on their own. The state as parastatal also involved. We have got an example of interwater basin transfer scheme that we have, for example, within between South Africa and Lesotho. It is an example that we can talk about there. And then these entities may import goods to support their businesses. Reasons for that, it can be there to support businesses, or sell to consumers in their home country. We can have, I'm sure that, for example, in terms of telecommunication systems and even uh, the furniture industry. We are having a lot of international markets that are flourishing within South Africa, where we are buying Italian products, we are buying German, we are buying Chinese, we are buying whatsoever different countries that we are not going there, but they are being imported to be sold in order to broaden the services, to broaden the products that South African consumers are able to access. This is actually because of an increase in globalization and also the wide and for the continuous growth in consumer preferences. You understand? So, in other words, again, we need also to understand what is exports. Exports is the opposite of imports. Are services or goods a country manufactures and ships to other country for sale. So these are locally produced. They are locally produced, uh, but sold to a foreign market or sold in a foreign market or sold foreign. They are sold through a foreign market. You understand? So locally produced, but they are not sold in South Africa. They are being sold to another country. E.g., we can talk about wines from South Africa being sold to they are being sold to Russia. They are being sold to the United States. They are being sold to uh, Tanzania and every other different countries that we can mention. So what we are saying is that exports are locally produced. Manufacturers, they produce them, but they are they are transporting them for sale into other countries. So what we need to understand is that these exports can bring profits. They bring income to the country, to a country, and make money. We talk about the income. We talk about the foreign currency, the much needed foreign currency, the money that we need from other countries in business, helping stimulate its economic growth. So economic growth of South Africa is increased because it's improved because of the ability to sell to other countries. What we are producing, we have got minerals, we have got beverages that South Africa is rich of. These beverages, we talk about the various types of wines and beers and drinks that are being sold to other countries. We talk about fruits that are sold around around the African globe. All those are quite good examples that we can mention. So what we need to understand is that imports may represent goods that another country cannot make, and the exporting country often has a comparative advantage. The comparative advantage is that they are able to produce them at a better cost, which can enable them to make a good economic profit. That is a comparative advantage that is coming from the exporting country. The exporting country, the country that is giving out, it has got a comparative advantage compared to the country that is buying those goods in terms of the cost efficiency and other factors such as economies of scale. So the exporters may produce the goods at a lower opportunity and or a financial cost. So at the end of the day, we remain in making a good economic profit. So if that occurs, we are able to we are able to expand the businesses, we are able to make economic profit for plugging back into business and so forth. So in other ways, that is it. So what we need to understand before we go further is that exports are there to bring income to the country. Exports, they inject exports. When we look at them, we must be able to tell and explain that exports, the exports, they bring income into the country. We receive payments for them. They bring income into the country. That's one key factor that we need to understand. and then imports. So we can say exports, they are, in other economic terms, we say that this is an injection into the economy. It's an injection of finances. It's an injection of income. Exports are an injection into it's an addition. We can also say that it's an addition of income. Exports are an addition of income into the economy. And then imports, they are a leakage. They are a minus. Uh, Imports are a leakage. They are is a minus of income. They reduce the income. Imports are there to reduce. We take from what we have, and then what we are saying is we are buying to that country where we are buying from. So therefore, they are a minus, they are a reduction, they are a negative when it comes to financial terms, or when it comes to business terms. So when we look at the two, they derive us to understand what is called balance of trade. They take us to an understanding of a new business terminology in international trade, that is called balance of trade. So it is the difference between monetary value. We are looking at the monetary value of a state's exports. We say that exports and imports of goods over a certain period of time. So when we look at balance of trade, we are assessing the financial status of a country in terms of the ratio of imports to exports in their monetary terms. How much money has been made by selling to another country versus how much money has been paid out in importing certain goods. So balance of trade is equal to total exports minus value of imports. So total exports minus value of imports, it gives us either a positive, or it can give us also a negative balance of trade. So we have got a positive or a negative balance of trade. In either way, it is as a result of the economic performance. It is as a result of the situation that we are having when it comes to the value of the imports and exports. So that's what we just want to quickly talk about now. What is that? So positive balance of trade, it is when a country exports more goods, we can have a positive balance of trade when a country exports more goods and services than its imports. Therefore, it creates a surplus, creates a trade surplus. It creates more income, creates more economic profit. It make more earnings. We are going to make more money there. So a trade surplus can represent a healthy economy. That is one thing that we are talking about. Like I said, this is money entering into the reserves. This is money that is entering into the economy of South Africa. So it demonstrates positive flow of currency from foreign entities. It is actually, like we said, it shows an injection of money, an injection of income into the economy. So if money comes in, we are saying it's more like the way we look at our financial accounts, personal accounts. When you take your card buying something from a shop, when you pay for a certain service or function, whether at a hospital, you are paying for insurance, you are paying for a personal transaction, whatever that you can think about, money is going out. But when you are we are saying when you are paying, money is going out. But when you sell, so positive balance of trade is created when we sell more than what we buy. So if you are selling, we are creating money to come in. We are making a trend of income into our economy. That is one thing that you should understand. So let's look at negative balance of trade. Negative balance of trade. So before we go further, therefore, what we need to understand is that positive balance of trade, therefore, it demonstrates a positive flow of currency from foreign entities, which can also be a good indicator. It can be a good economic situation for the improvement of the economy, creation of employment, uh, improvement of the standards of living of our people, all various positive advantages that you can talk about, infrastructural development, project development, and initiatives. All those we can identify them when we have got a positive balance of trade. So negative balance of trade occurs when a country's imports are more than exports, resulting in a deficit. With a trade deficit, more money flows out of the economy, foreign markets to foreign markets rather than for it to come in. So what we are saying is it is a negative because more money has been taken out of the country's economy. More money has been spent, has been spent versus what has been earned than what a country has earned. So we have that, it means it's negative. More money has been spent than what a country uh, has earned. Then we have a negative. We are having a deficit. It is showing as a country may need to borrow money in order for us to be remain sustainable. We have to pay money for additional imports. Whatever that we are buying, we must borrow money and cover its deficit. So countries that spend more on imports, uh, that they earn from their imports, from their exports, if a trade deficit, hence they are keeping on deteriorating. They keep on deteriorating in terms of the economic performance, economic economic status. We are keeping on lacking. We are keeping on owing. So what we are saying is that they can't states that are having a negative balance of trade, importing more than what they are exporting, they are having a tendency of low development. They are having a trend of being poorer and poorer. So let's quickly just look at trade commodities. What are the items that are being sold across or around countries? Trade commodities. What is it that being sold? Many of the world's poorest countries still depend heavily on exporting primary products, resulting in a number of disadvantages. The disadvantages that we need to look at, I'm saying many of the poorest, we are looking at less economically developed countries. We are looking at less economically developed countries. These less economically developed countries, we are saying they are keeping on depending heavily on exporting of what of primary products. Remember, we said less economically developed countries are mostly exporting raw materials. They're exporting unprocessed or semi-processed semi-processed raw materials, which results in them continuously having disadvantages. So what we want to look at right now, we want to look at the the disadvantages that are coming as a result of countries, the disadvantages that we can talk about. I just want to mention in passive, just to mention some of them, the disadvantages that might arise here. We talk about environmental deterioration as disadvantages that arise uh, from depending heavily on primary industries, environmental concerns. Countries they keep on having their environment being degraded. Extraction of we talk about extraction and production of primary products can have adverse environmental impacts, including deforestation, soil degradation. We talk about soil degradation and pollution, which can harm the long-term sustainability of what of the economy. So these are dangerous implications and impacts that we can identify when it comes to dependence on primary products. We have got also income inequalities that can also become another problem. Income inequality, uh, inequality, which is also one other disadvantage that we have, where you need to understand that dependence on primary products can actually worsen income inequality, as the benefits often accrue to selective individuals or a few, while men who are mostly in rural areas engaged in primary production may experience low income and also limited access to social services. Those are disadvantages that are coming as a result of that. We have got also problems of being vulnerable to external shocks as another disadvantage. Vulnerable to external shocks is also a disadvantage that we have there, which we say there is also economic downturns in major trading partners or disruptions in global supply chain. The global supply chain or other trading partners, they actually, we are saying they have got some downturns or disruptions which can significantly affect depending dependent on primary products exports. To say if you want to sell our agricultural products, our mineral resources, there are some adverse problems that are affecting the developed economies where we need to sell to. Those can actually negatively affect our export promotions or export earnings. Hence becomes a disadvantage on us who are depending on what? On primary product exportation. I can also lastly maybe mention the idea or the effect of limited diversification, which is caused by over reliance on primary products that can hinder economic uh, diversification actually. So a lack of diversification actually makes an economy vulnerable to external what? To external shocks and reduces its ability to adapt to changing market conditions. Market conditions that are dynamic and that are always changing. It is quite difficult to adapt to them as a result of dependence on primary products. So primary products or unprocessed raw materials are usually processed elsewhere to make valuable products. These are where is elsewhere in most economically developed countries. They sell or and they buy these unprocessed products and so unprocessed raw materials, and then they are going to process them to sell them as well done products or final products at a better markup or at a better value added price. So we want to look at manufactured products, a value addition. Manufactured products, value addition because they can be sold at a greater profit, at a greater economic. I also want to talk about economic profit. So, what is value addition? Value addition is the additional features or economic value that a company adds to its products or services before offering them to customers. When a product like minerals are mined, when agricultural produce are earned, there are certain additional features, there are certain manufacturing modifications that are done to those in order for them to make sense to our consumers. So it is the enhancement, it is the betterment made by a company or individuals to a product or services before channelizing it to the consumers. So, in value addition, it is all about making better. It is all about making the product superior. It takes all the whole manufacturing chain, processing, preservatives, as well as even packaging. So they can be sold at a better profit when value addition has been done. So therefore, you can link and relate that to what? To the disadvantages that arises in terms of selling raw materials compared to finished products. I'm sure that we can relate that. So the last question that I just want us to quickly look at is why value addition? Why do businesses, why do countries are involved? Why countries are involved in what? In value addition. The value, I'm saying the value added to a product gives customers an incentive. Uh, we are talking about incentive, we are talking about motivation, we are talking about inspiration. It gives consumers inspiration to choose the product or businesses over other options. So what makes value addition to be important? It is a selling, it is a consumer attraction mechanism. It is a selling technique. It is a a profit making model that is designed in order to make more money with regards to what is being sold. So this ultimately makes differences to business revenue and profitability. Revenue, we are talking about the income and also the profitability if it sells more products. When products are being sold after they are value added, companies have got a better chance, a better standing of making more profits. That is the concept that we are talking about with regards to this whole subject. Class, thank you very much for your time, and keep on connected and keep on uh, subscribing and sharing our channel, so therefore we can grow and we can develop future leaders. We say it with Metric Hub, no repeats. We make the educational path, the educational journey shorter by avoiding repeats. Keep connected. Revision is loading for our upcoming end of term exams and everything. Thank you very much.